Hello and welcome to hobby vlog number 67. As you're watching this, if you're watching this on the day it's published, happy Valentine's Day. This week's been busy, it's been varied. Well, it's a big clever week. Of course it's been busy and varied, that's what I do. And I've got a lot done, though I sadly can announce that I did not get everything done for the model railway that I wanted to for today. Today being Saturday and Saturday being Rosie's birthday. However, I have made some progress. It is fine. She hasn't had any time today to even think about model railways, so that will have to wait till tomorrow, and there's a chance that I will get some more done on it between recording this intro and finishing the edit later, so who knows. You'll know as well as I will when you watch the whole of this video. So thanks for watching. Please do pop a comment below if you have anything to say. I love reading them. Don't forget to subscribe and then ding the bell. If you do that, you'll be told when one of my videos has gone live. I have left Facebook completely now, and I'm no longer marketing my videos, so you hitting subscribe and telling people is the only way people will hear about me. And YouTube obviously doing its thing when it bothers to for small channels. But anyway, I hope you enjoy the video. I'll see you again at the end. I'll stop rambling now. Let's go and have a look at what I've done this week. So as you can see, the two gates are up. This gate here is ready, but I haven't yet done the base, which I'll do off camera, because all that's going to be is more modelling compound and then painting it. And what I'm going to come to now, I'm going to do the next couple of steps on these. First of all, I'm going to glue down the elements here. So we've got the bone here, we've got the skull there. Just going to use PVA. So I'm going to put a blob of PVA in the hole where the skull will sit, and that should hold it nicely. And then I will use PVA as well to press to hold down the other bone as well. There we are. That looks great. So we'll just run a blob of PVA along. There we are. So the next thing to do is going to be some static grass work. And I'm going to use, if I reach up here, I love how everything is within reach, even when I'm not prepared. I'm going to use the dead stat grass, 2mm dead grass from Geek Gaming, from Luke. And I'm just going to basically cover the entire model. I have just realised there was one other thing to stick in. This is not a tentacle. People that saw pictures of this on the Tabletop Crafters United Discord thought it was a tentacle. It is not. It is a tail. It may be a little bit odd that I decided to have it sticking up like that, but hey, it's my model. I can do what I want. It's my party. I can cry if I want to. So we'll just stick that in as well. So what I'm going to do, if that will work, hopefully that'll hold it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get myself my static grass applicator. I'm going to get myself my fast tack glue from Warworld Scenics, which is what I like to use. I do have another one up there in my backup, so if that runs out I do have a replacement. And then I'll bring you along, and what we'll do is we'll put some static grass on these bases. I have the other board as well, obviously, with the failed house in the middle. I'll do all those together, and then when I next mix up some modelling compound, which will be very soon for the model railway, funnily enough, I will also mix enough and finish off this area here. I'm really enjoying this, not far off completed now on these terrain pieces, and then I can get started converting up this. And also, so I believe you have 2 cars per team, and so I have a Barbie truck. So it's going to be the Flintstones with Barbie versus Herbie plus another. I may try and find a police car, I'm not sure. But anyway, I will bring you back in a second when I've got my static grass all ready and we're about to start applying it. As you can see, I've put some paper down. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to work on this one now while you're watching, and I'll do the rest off camera because it's basically sort of repetitive steps. So the way that I work it is I will put some glue down. I don't actually know if this works. It might have sealed up the end. Yeah. Let me just clean out the end and I'll be back in a second. I literally didn't take very long, just got a spike and stuck it through. So yeah, so I really like using the Warworld Scenics glue. It's quite runny. It's runnier and easier to work with than the fast dry basing glue from Luke's APS. Though I do think he does have a product like this, but I have not tried it because I've got so much of the World Scenics ones. But anyway, so you just put that on where you want it, and I want quite a good covering over here. I'm going to have a little bit more of a sparse covering over where the cars will be going, but on the banks and around the base of this I want to have quite a lot. So we put that down where we want it. And then grab a brush and spread it out a bit more if you wish. I will do that because I don't want it to be quite, I want it to be quite a smooth application, not too lumpy. You can see it is nice and runny, which is a good thing because it means it gets into all the crooks and nooks and crannies. So yeah, so we'll get this applied. And then when it's been applied, you come along with the static grass applicator. And again, I have a World Scenics Pro, which I bought one of their very first they ever sold, though they have upgraded it for me since because it stopped working. And you use the wire to create a kind of signal path or current path. So what I've done is I have a pin which I have always in the little kind of like clampy thing, which you can see there. I don't know if that's come out. So I have a pin which then makes it a little bit easier for me to hold this in place. So you come along, you complete the circuit, and then magic happens. And this is why you have your paper down, because it is almost impossible to do this tidily. Now the issue I've got at the moment is I cannot get the magnetic thing very close to the base of the upright, which is going to cause me a little bit of a problem in that it won't stand up there because it's not close enough to its magnet. So this is actually not going to potentially look very good apart from in the middle, but there are other tips and tricks you can do, and I'll show you what I do to save that when I get to it. So there we are, lots and lots of static grass going down, and where you can get close, it's helping it to stand up. There we are. So what I'll do is I'll let that to dry, and then when it's done I'll shake it off and gather it back up and reuse it. And I will also come along, I'll show you, you get a little bit of a pin and you can stand up your static grass. So I'll bring you along for that step when I get to it. This has actually been left 2 days now since I glued it. So let's lift off the weights that I put on and see just whether it's stuck or not. Okay, that's pretty solid. I was expecting it to be because I used the strong glue. What I'm going to do now is spend probably a day or two putting the modelling compound over the whole of where I'm going to do my my sculpting, my terrain. I'm going to do a retaining wall all the way along here up to the end of the tunnel, which is just around here, but I'm going to stop and I'm not going to do any of the sculptor mould or any scenicking over the top of where this tunnel is going to be, because I'm still not decided at the moment whether I might not even go a bit higher and whether I might leave it open. You can see, well you can't see, but it actually is the right height at the moment, so I think the height is fine, but I might leave it open so that you can see the train go through, and also so I've got access to clean the tracks, and I'll just put maybe a small wall at the front here, coming round to about here, so you can see it goes into a cut, and then have a lift off section. That's what I'm thinking anyway. So it's going to be modelling compound. It's going to be potentially putting some more little bits of foam around the outsides here, just to give it a little bit more 3D. So like I say, I may do it so that the cliff kind of goes off here, this is open, and then it comes back here. So this is visually a cut. The road goes over on a bridge, and then the cut will disappear off here, and then it will slope down, and this would then be a little like round raised mound or whatever. So that's my thinking at the moment of what I'm going to do in the next couple of days. I will bring you along for bits and pieces, but mostly I will be counting how many bags of sculptor mould I go through, just for interest. I won't film all of the sculptor mould process. If you want to know how to do that, I have plenty of other videos. So yeah, let's get started. Someone recently was saying how much they enjoy hearing me say I'm an idiot on my videos. So here you are, for whoever that was. Once again, I am an idiot. So I've been happily coming along here doing the modelling compound. I've just done this section here behind the house, which I'm just using as a positioning aid. And what I've realised is that I've actually forgotten to put the duck pond in, which does need to be set in roughly there, and as you can see it's not going to set in well because I need to bed it into the earth. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw around where I want it to be set. Just at the bottom of that hill, in one of the stories, a tractor loses control and comes down the hill and crashes into the pond. So it should be at the bottom of a hill. This farmyard is going to be very, very compressed compared to what it is in the pictures as well, but that's one of those things with model railways. So we will draw around where this is going to set, and I'm going to come in with my knife. You can see that the modelling compound is still a bit damp, so I have realised this nearly in time. I'm going to come along with my knife and cut that out, then set the pond in and then put some more modelling compound and smooth it around, and I will paint and what have you this when it's in place. I probably should have painted it first, or at least primed it and done the ducts, but that is one of those things when you're under pressure of time. So let's come along with the knife and cut this out and then get it in place. So I'll run the camera. I'm not sure how well the footage will come out, but I'll run the camera and show you how I'm going to do this. So there we are, that's actually set in all right. It was far easier than I feared it would be. So what I'll do is I'll glue this down and then just cover up the edges with the modelling compound. But you're starting to see where things are going to sit. The house is going to be around here. I'll probably do one more barn, but that's probably about it. It's going to be much more compressed, as I said, than the actual in the books, but there's not much I can do about it with the space I've got. At least it'll be visible, and there will be a duck pond, and Rosie does love the duck pond. So you can see the extent. There'll be the barn will be over here, house here, pond here, maybe a little shed here next to it as well, and then the fields will go away from here with the sheep and the cows and what have you. So yeah, progress is being made. I'll carry on with this now, more modelling compound going down, and yeah, we're starting to really see something take shape. Really not sure how well that's showing up, but from my perspective and when I'm looking at this, it's got a big sheen to it. It's very glistening, probably from the glue. I think the glue is quite a shiny glue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come along with some dust and just dust over the top just to deaden that down. So I have some of Luke's gaming matte scenic sealant. Now the problem I have with this is that the actual squirty thing broke, so I use a dropper now to drop this onto what I'm doing. There's such a huge sheen on this, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this over, just over the whole of it, and then come along with some dust and drop the dust on as well. That's running off the edge, which is not what I wanted. It's very, very watery, this. Very watery indeed. So yeah, so I'm just going to drop that on, get it where I want it to be, and then I have my backyard dirt and I'm going to sieve it over. So I actually have a sieve and I'm actually just going to drop it through the sieve, which is going to help it spread a bit better hopefully, and that will deaden down that shine and also just add a little more texture to this piece. And I think then, with that done, that's probably going to be the last thing that I'll do on this, and then I'll be moving on to the cars. So I can get this done on all of the pieces, on all the separate sections, and then it'll be time to cut them out, which I'll bring you along for to show what it looks like. But this is going to work really well, I think. Just putting a little bit of dirt over the top, and then put in the scenic. I think maybe put the scenic glue on after I've put the dirt on, and that might work a bit better. So yes, anyway, I'll get that done. This will deaden down that shine, and I'll bring you back for the next step when I get to it. Now it's time to cut things out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut each thing out in a very kind of wide of the mark way, and then when I've got each thing separate, then I'll cut them out more individually. So I've got a sharp knife, so let's get this done. There we are, that separated out pretty nicely, apart from this one which popped off the base. But that's okay, I can probably glue that down to something else and save that quite easily. So what I'm going to do now, I won't do this on camera because it's going to be a little bit fiddly, but what I'll do now is I will come along and trim all of these down. So come with the knife very, very close and just do lots of little cuts. And this may take some time, but I think it's going to be worth it. And with that, this will be done. So this is to make sure that I don't pop these off the cardboard. They do seem to be wanting to pop off the cardboard, which I wasn't really expecting. I was expecting the modelling compound to stick a bit better. But yeah, I'll get that done. And then when I'm finished, I'll bring you back and show you what it looks like. After a week off, basically because I was feeling so rough, I didn't want to make a mistake, I finally am now going to start to glue together the walls of Rosie's, of the house or the farm, of Apple Tree Farm. So what I've got is I've got this little magnetic tray which my parents bought me once, which is absolutely brilliant. And I'm going to be using super glue initially to make the initial bonds because it needs to have quite a quick effect, and then when it's done and I'm happy with how secure it is, then what I'll do is I'll come along and I'll either put PVA, and I'll probably also put some more filler, as I've suggested I might. So what you can see is I have, with this magnetic thing, I'm able to position the walls and then get my hand out of the way, which is really, really important when you're doing something like this, because it's actually quite fiddly to do this without magnets. So what we'll do is we'll place all of our walls, and when we're happy with them, then I'll come along, run a bead of the super glue down. Now you can see that this one actually is slightly off, but it's okay. The problem with scratch building is things can be slightly off. You're not going to be as accurate as a machine, not unless you are a machine, and I very much am not. So yeah, so we'll get this roughly mocked up with the magnets holding it in place, making sure everything lines up. And then I'll glue it, and then I'll put the end on when this is all done and dried. So obviously I've got this isn't everything. There's 3 more walls to glue on, but I can at least get this shape done, and you can see that is going to look pretty good. So let's get a magnet inside. Get these all square, and then it'll be a case of coming in with the super glue, running a bead down, and then letting it dry for half an hour or so. Go and do something else. There we are. We have roughly a building. There we are. That looks good. Right, I'm going to glue that. I'm probably going to stop the camera because there might be swearing if it falls apart, which it might do. It's very delicate. And then when it's done and I've got something to show you next, I'll be back and I'll show you what it looks like. But yeah, we are able to now assemble our house. As you can see, I've got my 10 by 10 polystyrene here, which I've cut a notch out of, and I've decided against sealing the front because I want to actually make this a little bit, I haven't played with it, I want to make this a little bit more interesting. This is some real grass root, which Rosie picked up for me, which I'm going to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have that coming in like this and going into the back, and then I'll have the grass popping out of the top, like so. I'll hot glue it in place. I have my acorn here, which I'm about to hot glue to the back there. And then I'm not sure whether I'm going to use this or not, but that's another little kind of thing from a plastic plant. I've got a stone which Rosie found, and I've mixed up some grout. So what I'm probably going to do is first of all paint the grout on the bottom and on the back, then use the hot glue to stick the acorn and this in place, and then leave it. The grout will be good over a night in the fridge, so don't worry about that. And then when that's all dry and I can touch it again, I will come along and I'll build up the top and potentially play around a little bit more with the acorn. I think it's going to be a really quick build, which is good because I've spent a lot of time on these before, and having something simple but that I love is, well, I'm just really looking forward to what it looks like. And it also means that I can spend a bit of time on the second build, and then whichever one I submit, it doesn't really matter. I wanted to make both of these, so I'm very happy with that. So yeah, so I'm going to get that done. I have my mix of grout. If you're not sure how I do that, there is a video in the link of bottom of every one of my videos, which is for how I do my grout. It's basically a bit of sand from the back garden. So yeah, let's get this painted on and get this party started. There we are, so the grout's on, as you can see, and actually I think that rather than using the hot glue for that, I'm actually going to use some PVA, just going to pull some PVA over the top and then spread it around, and that will give it a good enough adhesion for what I need, as opposed to hot glue, which is just going to go everywhere. Not a big fan of hot glue. This being a diorama piece and not a gaming piece, it can be a little bit more delicate than I normally would ever do. So there we are. I think now I'm going to turn off my hot glue gun, having not used it, and let that all dry. So I'll come back to that tomorrow. The mix of grout and PVA, etc., does stay very nicely in the fridge when you cover it with some cling film. It lasts for absolutely days, so that'll still be good tomorrow, and I can come back tomorrow and can add the other elements to that without risking moving those roots. I'm really pleased with how that is already, though. That's going to be a really nice little piece. So yes, I'll leave that to dry now, and I'll bring you back for the next step when I get to it. Oh yeah, so that's dry now, so all gone off overnight, and that's now secure enough for what I'm doing. So what I've done a little bit before I got the camera out, I got the Bradle out and just dug a little hole in the top, which is where the grass is going to be coming out. So I'll be gluing that in place, and I'm also going to hot glue my acorn just here, and I'm also going to glue down the stone on the top. So I've got the hot glue gun hot. So what I'm going to do is put a bead of hot glue along the side of the acorn and then stick it in place, trying my best not to get my fingers in it, and failing obviously because it's hot glue. However, that's now on and in and fine, and I can build up some of the brown grout mix around it. Let's pop the stone on as well, and last but not least, little bubble hot glue there, and let's put that one bit of grass in. Now I will be doing more and more and more. I'll be building up the top quite a lot, but that's what I need really initially to make this pop. So I'm going to let that go off a bit now, and go and do some other things, and then I'm going to come back and do another coat of exactly the same, because it's in the fridge, it's fine, it's not gone off. So I'm going to use exactly the same once this hot glue is completely dried. Cover up some of this white that you can see on the base, where the PVA washed away the actual grout mix, but that's fine, like I say, because I've got plenty, and I'll start to build that up. The idea will be to have a little sprout coming out of here, and it just be close to the to reaching and to breaking through, so I'll probably try and get that done this evening as well. I'm not far off done on this. This is a really nice quick build. Once this is done, I'm going to start working on the cliff. I have been working on this in the background, and finally I'm ready to do a little bit more filming. So I've managed to assemble the house, and I'm actually pretty pleased with it. It's not great, but it's certainly going to look very nice, and I'm very pleased that I scratch built it. I've primed it with a spray primer, just some like cheap auto grey primer, just to seal the wood a little bit more. And what I'm now going to do is come along and I'm going to paint it white, just with the normal clean white house paint. That was terrible, didn't really focus, but you know what I mean. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do now. I probably will do 3 or 4 coats. I want it to be a really nice shiny white, and then it'll be ready to be put in place, and I'll be able to start to work on the roof as well, which I think is going to be relatively easy. I think I can probably print something out even to use for the roof. That's my idea anyway. So let's get some white on it and see how this looks. As I said, it's just standard house paint, so there's nothing special here. I have doors and windows coming that have been cut for me by Tyler, and when they arrive I'll do a video on them. He's starting a new business and I'm happy to support him and help him out with that. I hasten to add that I bought them. I don't often take free things from anyone. I don't believe in that very much unless someone is insistent. So yeah, they will be coming and will be stuck on this when they arrive, which is why I've not scratch built them. So you can see that is going to work very, very nicely. It's going to be a nice clean white and it will look very good. So I'll get the rest of that done now off camera, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's been finished and whether there are more than one coat that's going to go on. So the next little bit of progress to be done on this is going to be another acorn and its cap, which Rosie picked up. So that's going to be glued on top just up there. And what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to work on the sprout, which is going to be coming out of the acorn here. So this is an aquarium plant, and if we look, we can measure that. We can see that if it just goes to there, it's if we cut it about here, it's just going to be very close to breaching the surface, which is what I want to do. So I'm going to cut it a bit long first of all, because I can always trim it down again. So that's trimmed that down. And we only want to have the top 2 leaves. So what I'll do is I'll trim off these 2 leaves, and I will save them because these can be used elsewhere on the diorama. Maybe on the actual top I could have some little leaves. So we'll trim those off. There we are. One went flying onto the floor. And that now you can see there's actually a hole in the acorn which this should fit into. There we are. Just not. I'll probably trim it a bit more, like I've said. But that's just a little bit too long, but that's fine. But that's the idea that we're going for. The one more thing I'm going to do now before I stick it in place is I'm actually just going to get a little bit of super glue, drop it in there and hold these closed, because I don't want it to be as open. This is after it's reached, so I'm going to just super glue that a little bit shut, but I'll do that off camera because I probably glue it to myself and swear a lot. So that's going to be done. I'm going to glue this down just using PVA. I'm not going to use hot glue this time. I'm not in a huge rush, which is very nice. So we'll just put a little bit of the PVA down here, and a little bit there. And then once I've finished this and all this is dried and in place, I'm going to come back with more of the the grout mix, which is still okay in the fridge, which is good, and I will fill in some of the gaps and just continue to build that texture up. And I think that's just going to be an ongoing thing, which I'm going to have to do, is just keep putting more and more of the filler on just to fill in these gaps. So anyway, we're getting good progress. I'm going to need to really start thinking about how I'm going to detail the top, and I have some ideas about some other like maybe a worm or something I can have here, which I might sculpt out of green stuff. So yeah, there's a fair bit more to come on this, but that's going to dry now, and I'll sort this shoot, and then when I come to glue it on, I will bring you back again. Well, there we are, the shoot, which is nearly there, near the light. So what I'm going to do is put a dab of super glue at the base, like so, and step away and leave it. Because if I fiddle with that, it'll probably fall out. Like that. There we are. I fiddled with it and it fell out. That was a absolute prediction that I made that was correct. I will now fix this, probably off camera, because it is actually quite fiddly to get in unless I can do it immediately. It's just the right size. There we are, got it back in. So there we are. Apologies for the near swear. I'll let that dry now and then I'll come back and do the rest of the work, which is probably going to be a little bit more of the texturing, and then I'm going to need to finish the top, and then we're pretty much done. I'm really happy about this. I'm going to have a look at worms now though. Obviously I'm using my wired lapel mic while I'm filming this, a bit meta. I can't really make use of this until it's charged. I don't know what the quality change will be like. That's going to be very, very interesting for me to find out. But I do much prefer using the wireless, just because I'm scared of pulling my camera over. So this, as I said in the intro, is the Saramonic Blink 500B2. Now, I was a little bit incorrect in the intro in that I actually went for the SLR version, which hopefully will then be flexible enough to use on the camera. However, you can buy one which is specific for a mobile phone, and that I might have to upgrade to that, but it's not cheap, so I'm hoping that this will work for both my SLR and also my mobile phone, but we shall find out. So let's have a look. So we'll take the sleeve off, and this comes in a very nice magnetized little presentation case, which is a very good first impression, I can tell you. It's always nice when things feel good when you open them. It's got a couple of magnets on it, as you can see in the top there. I don't know whether that's on shot. Yes, there they are. You can just about see them there. So it comes with the warranty card and some and a way of removing something or other. And it comes with 2 transmitters, which is also important to me because I'm hoping to get Angela to do some battle reports with me and play some games. So it's good to have 2 transmitters, and then you get the receiver. Now, if I can, I will get a picture and pop it on screen now of what this looks like when it's clipped to the top of the SLR, because I can't film it because I'm filming using the SLR, but it does slip into the shoe mount using the belt clip, which is okay. It's not quite as secure as the other one. My original, actually, I was able to use a hot shoe, and I like that quite a lot. But yeah, as long as it doesn't fall off, who cares? If it's secure, it's secure. I'm not exactly running around with this camera. It's on a tripod when I'm using it, so that's fine. Then you get this little box here, which is absolutely jammed with stuff. So hopefully nothing's got damaged, because that's quite tightly packed as it happens. So let's pull whatever's in here out and see what we've got. So we have a cable and another cable and a Spoingy TRS CTIA, whatever that means. I'll have to find out, won't I? And another one that looks the same but doesn't have a label on it. We have another couple of lapel mics. You can never have too many cabled lapel mics, they do break. And then we've got another, so we've got 3 charging cables, which is really cool because that's 1 for each of these. And we've got 2 cables here, presuming that one is for the mobile phone and one is for the SLR, because they are different inputs, which not many people know. Not many people know that. And then we have our 2 lapel mics, which will work with the transmitters. Now, one of the reasons why I was a little nervous about this is I really wanted to have one with replaceable batteries. The worst thing in the world is to see the battery light blinking on something and not be able to just swap the batteries. Rechargeable is not really what I want. But if you want to get one which doesn't have an external aerial, you need to go rechargeable. So I've had to kind of like make a call there, and hopefully I haven't made the wrong call. So I will start to use this as soon as it's charged. You may notice the difference in the audio quality. I will review it and see how happy I am. But yeah, thanks Ryan for recommending that I look at these, and let's see whether this can make me more comfortable filming again. As I say, I really do not like being tied to the camera. I've almost pulled it over several times since my wireless broke last time. Welcome to my games room, and I am quite excited today, because I received Tainted Grail finally. Now, they actually sent me 2 copies. They accidentally shipped 2 to me, which they did contact me about, and I'm waiting for them to arrange a courier to come and collect the second one. However, whatever, I've got 2 copies of Tainted Grail. Maybe eventually I'll get to keep it if it's very, very expensive for them to collect, but I fully expect them to take it, which is absolutely fine by me, because who needs 2 copies of Tainted Grail when you've got 1? So it's just down here. Let's have a look at these boxes. There they are. So the one on the right over here, that's the one that will be being shipped back. I don't need 2. I've contacted them already and given them details of where to get it from, so hopefully that'll be done very, very quickly. This one here, however, is my baby. Now, those who know me will know that I don't do things by halves, and so of course I've basically got everything. I have had a look through, as you can see. I've not done a proper unboxing yet. I will do that on camera, and I'll obviously very excited, but it's during the work working day, as you can tell, so I haven't got time now, but I did want to film this. I'm so excited to receive it. I've been looking forward to this for a very long time, yeah, it looks beautiful. I mean, the quality of the artwork in the special gifts and etc. Is amazing. That's the only thing I've looked at, so I can't wait to get into the meat of it and the real thing. So as soon as I can, I'll be unboxing. I'll run the camera, obviously I'll show you what it looks like so you can see. And if you haven't yet backed this, I'm not sure if the Kickstarter, if the Pledge Manager may be reopening, but either way, what a great game, and yeah, I can't wait to get into it. Let's have a look at these Eduard Brassin Typhoon guns for the Airfix kit. Bought these to go on the post-apocalyptic build that I'm doing for the Tabletop Dungeoneers Discord, but I figured a quick unboxing and show and tell, and also a video showing me gluing them together and painting them, what have you. So that's what this will be. It will not just be an unboxing, I'll also show how I go about assembling them. I thought that'd be quite an interesting little short, so that's what I'm going to do. So in the box you get 2 little baggies and some instructions. The instructions are pretty clear. If you do order this, just be aware that the plastic bits are things that you're not going to get in the kit. Those are things that are in the original Airfix kit, which this is for. So if you look at that and you get a bit confused, then you know what's going on, because I've just told you. So the 2 baggies, the first one contains the fittings, and the second one contains the gun barrels and the bullets. So let's get these out of their baggies and have a look in detail. Baggie number 1 contains 4 of the machinery sections. So you've got the barrel, which is where the bullets go in, and you've got the bullet feed, the belt feeds. That's what's in baggie number 1. They are beautifully done, as you'd expect from Eduard. Very nice, very good manufacturer. A little bit of flashing to cut off, or there's a little bit of sprue on each one. This little section here is sprue, but apart from that, yep, they're really clean. So that's cool. I'm not sure how many I'm going to use on the diorama, but I will build all of them, I think. So let's have a look and see what's in the other baggie. There we are. So we have 4 barrels, nice and long, as you can see. They're all identical, and we have 4 sets of ammunition on a belt. So the way these are supposed to work is they actually set inside the wing of the model. So if I just bring the instructions in, that there is the instructions, and on this side it's a bit bent, a bit hard to see maybe, but on this side you can see how they're supposed to set into the actual wing of the Typhoon. Now of course that's not what I bought them for, so there is going to be a little bit of scratch building needed for me to make sure these don't look too odd. I might have to put some housings around them so it looks a little bit more weatherproof, but I'm very pleased these have arrived, and I'm going to get stuck into making them right away. So the first thing I'll do, which I won't show on camera because it's just something I do, is I'm going to give them a good wash. So get some near boiling water and some washing up liquid, chuck them in, let them soak for a little bit, and then scrub them with a toothbrush and let them to dry. This is to make sure any mold release agent that may be left on there is removed, so that when I come to the painting I'm not fighting and having things slide off, having the paint slide off. So I'm going to give them a good scrub and a good wash. I'll remove them from the sprues when I come to them. I wash them with them on the sprues. So yeah, so the next thing we'll do after this is we'll start to assemble and then paint. So I will bring you back on this when I come to the assembly step. This is the first shot using my new wireless microphone. So hopefully it's going to come out okay. I've just done a few tests. It does seem to be sounding right, but anyway, we'll move on. I'm not going to focus on that. I'll do a proper review video of it when I come to it. So it is Rosie's birthday today. I have dramatically failed in getting anything remotely resembling a model railway done in time, but that is life. What I have though is I have the farmhouse. The fittings, so the doors and what have you in the windows, haven't arrived yet. Hopefully they'll be here soon, and I'll add them on and paint them up when they do. But it's working nice. It has worked very nicely. I'm quite pleased with it. So a couple of things that I need to do now. One of them is I need to put a piece across the top here to act as a ridge, and a piece across here to act as a ridge, so that I can put the roof on. The second thing that I want to do, and I'm going to use balsa wood for this, I'm going to try a different technique because it's always good fun to try different things, is to make the little barn here, because I think that's the only two buildings I'm actually going to do on the layout, because there's just not enough space for more than that. So balsa is really good, but also really scary to use in one sense, because it's so soft that it's really easy to make a mistake and screw up. So I'm going to measure up and mark up, make myself a template. I'll draw on this where I want to cut, then I'll very carefully cut it. So once I've got everything that I need to make this shape done, then I will come back and show you how I go about cutting it, and we'll glue it together. It should be quite quick. There's different colours on different pictures of this barn, so I'm not sure what colour I'm going to go with. But first off, what I need to do is actually make the thing. What I do know is I'm going to do it open. I'm going to have it open so you can see inside it, so these doors will have to be cut out as well. So that's one thing which will add to the complexity. So I'll get that started and I'll bring you along when I'm about to start cutting. I've done some measuring and I've made some decisions. So what we've got here is we've got this 4.5 centimetres, 45 millimetres, which is the same width as the front of the house, basically, because it's roughly the same when I'm looking at the drawing. However, the height of the walls is lower, so that is a 20 millimetre high wall. And then basically to save material, I'm not sure if it's right, it looks about right to me, what I've done is I've mirrored that across here. So the height of this is basically half the width of one of these sheets. And then I've done two walls, and my remembrance of this is it's quite shallow, so I think that's going to be fine. That was 30 millimetres. So what I'm now going to do is very, very carefully, I'm going to start to cut this out. So I have my safety ruler, and I'm going to use the hobby knife for this because it's a bit thinner, and I think that it will give me a good result with this. So what I'll do is I will just very, very carefully come along and start to cut. Sorry for the noise there. So what you do when you're cutting balsa is you need to do, especially when you're going across the grain, you need to do multiple gentle passes. Don't try and go for all at once. Don't rush it, otherwise you will crumble it and then it'll all fall apart and you won't get a clean cut. And you probably just get bits. So multiple, shallow, gentle passes. Like that. So I'll get the rest of that done and I will bring you along when I've finished to show you me gluing it together. Here we are, that's cut out very, very nicely and carefully. So what we have is we have the front, and I also did cut out the doorway, which I've done 2 centimetres wide and just up to the same level as the eaves. And I've got the 2 return walls here, that's my waist, and the back wall with no doorway on it, obviously. So I'm going to use super glue here. It's going to dry very quickly and it's going to make this a simple construction. But before I do that, you're shouting at the camera, at the screen, going, don't forget, don't forget. What I need to do is very lightly come along and score in the plank lines. So I can do that just with the side of my craft knife, and that will then give me the lines for when I paint it, so it will look like it's made of planks. So I will actually do that and then come back when it's done and show you the gluing. Good thing I remembered that, otherwise that would have been quite frustrating, because after you've glued this together, it's not going to be the easiest thing in the world to do this, because you're likely to make the whole thing fall apart, particularly if you're as clumsy as I am. So you can see it doesn't take very long. I'll quickly get this done across all of the boards, all of the walls, and then I'll bring you back for the gluing. Well, there we are, that really did not take very long, in a minute or so. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue these together. So I'll do that with super glue, as I've said. So we'll run a bead of super glue down one of the edges. There it is. And then carefully sit that in. Ah, drop that on the floor. That is a clumsy, start that again. Cut, cut, cut. Now that didn't take very long at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some super glue. We'll run a super glue down the bead, a bead of super glue down the edge, and then very carefully set that on top of the barn, and that's it. This is one of the benefits of super glue. I'm not a huge fan normally of using it, but with balsa wood it really does work well because it just bonds almost immediately. So let's do the other wall. And this will pretty much be ready for painting. Now I might seal it a bit, I might put some PVA on it, I'm not sure. My concern is I don't want it to warp. Obviously I don't want it to warp. The biggest curse of modelers everywhere is warping. So I will probably think about it for a minute or two before I start the next step. But that is the barn assembled. So that's a far quicker process than for the house. So the house I am very pleased with, obviously, it looks great. But that barn has been very quick to put together. Because all we need to do now is drop that on. Make sure it marries up straight, which it doesn't at the moment. And there we are. We have ourselves a little barn. Isn't that lovely? Right, I'll let that dry and then I'll decide what I'm going to do for painting, and I also need to think about the roofs. So we're nearly finished on this actually, which is really cool because I do want to do the second idea. And what I'm going to be doing now is adding some of the finishing touches. I did put a little bit more, as you can see, a little bit more of the of the grout mix just to build up around where this particular seedling is coming in. And what we're going to do now is I've got some sections here that just at the edge shot which are little bits of the plants. I've got a leaf which Rosie picked up, which is going to be the thing that will take the longest for me to complete because I'm going to coat it in lots and lots of layers of PVA. But first of all, I've got some neat PVA and I'm just going to glue that leaf down very carefully, and then when it's in place and it's dried in place, what I'll be doing is I'll be coming along, and I won't show this over and over again, but I'll be coming along with watered down PVA and coating it over and over again so that it doesn't go off and so that it is a bit harder and tougher. Because what I want, I need to get it in the right position, there we are, what I want is to have it coming across and to have the little shoot just appearing, just poking up between. So let me do a quick zoom so you can see what that looks like. So there we are, you can see that the root, the shoot is coming up between the leaf, and that is actually a oak leaf, obviously, as you can see. The second thing that we've got is we've got another leaf here which is the same style as the one that's closed, which I'm going to stick in. So what I'm going to do is come along with my bradawl. This is going to be coming up just over here, so I'm going to put a little hole with the bradawl like so, and then dip the end of the leaf into some PVA and then slip it into the hole I've just made. And hopefully, I might need a little bit more PVA than that actually. Hopefully that will now be nice and secure. There we are. So that's one that's already got up. That's one that's come up. And then we're going to have the same sort of thing but at the back. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit because it's probably a little bit too close. There we are. Let's turn it round. I'm going to have a flower coming up at the back here. So once again, get the bradawl, little gentle hole, don't push too hard, dip the flower into some PVA and push it into the hole. There we are. That looks lovely. And now I've got 3 small shoots which I'm going to have coming up back here. So again, I'm going to get the bradawl, make a hole in, and same technique, drop some PVA on the end and push it into the hole. And hope that the PVA which you've got on your fingers doesn't mean it sticks to your fingers. There we are. As you can see, I got some PVA on my fingers before I did that. So I'm going to try and get all 3 into this hole. This might cause swearing. And the final one, what do we reckon? Do you reckon it'll fit? No, it's not going to fit. So I'm going to need to do another little hole. Make it a bit wider. There we are. Cool. Well, I'm going to let that dry and then I'll come along and I'll do the final touches, which will be, I'm going to make use of my green stuff roller tool and try to make a worm, and have said worm, if I rotate this, down here. Now I've got that leaf needs to come out, that's not something I want. So there we are getting there. This is looking really, really nice. When I do the worm, it'll be down here, and I'll just add a little bit more interest as well. So the process is to leave it to dry, coat this multiple times with PVA to make it solid, make sure I don't move it so that it's over in the wrong place, that's now in the right place again, and then do a little worm, and then that's done. What a fun, quick, enjoyable build this is. A decision has been made on how I'm going to treat this, and I'm going to make use of my wood stain, and I'm going to use the dark wood stain I've got, which is African teak. So just going to apply this using a normal brush in this way, and what it will do is it will both preserve and stain the wood. So just using an old brush, as you can see, one that I don't mind getting knackered. It's one that I use a lot for this type of application. And I'm going to be very careful because it's quite delicate, obviously, because it's not made of coffee stirrers, so it could break quite easily. So I won't film the whole of this process, but I'm going to get this stained, and then we can actually basically build the farmyard, because the house is there apart from the roof, and I can stick the roof on after, and this is here now apart from the roof, and I can stick the roof on after, and downstairs I have been painting up the pond. So once this is set and done, I will start to put together the farmyard, and I'll bring you along for that. So I'll get this done and I'll see you in a bit. Right, here we are at the model railway, and you can see that the barn has been stained and the house is in position, and I've got these in the locations where I want them to be. I did bring out my glue, thinking that what I was going to do was I was going to actually stick these down and have them in place and then do the modelling compound around, but I've just had the thought that what I probably should do really is draw around them and attempt to avoid putting modelling compound where I want them to be, and then come in and glue them in later, and then very carefully fill in around the edges. And the main reason for doing that is so that I don't get modelling compound on these buildings, which I don't want to do, and also it'll make it easier for me to get in with the detailing with the static grass applicator when I don't have these tall buildings in the way. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to mark out around it with a pencil. I'm going to attempt this evening to get a bit more modelling compounding done. You can just see at the front here, this is the cliff where the railway runs just in front of it. And if I can get the whole of the farmyard done, which is this, and maybe even a bit of the road compounded as well, then I can start to work on this area, get it painted, try and get some flocking down and some static grass, and have something to show Rosie, which would be really, really amazing for me to do. So I'm going to try basically and get the farmyard done, not the fields at the back, not the fields over here, but just the farmyard, which kind of runs like this to the edge where the road is, which is here. So yeah, that's the state of the model railway right now. I thought I'd quickly, I talked myself out of gluing it down. So I'm going to get this done, and yeah, I'll bring you along and show you what it looks like when I get to the next stage. So there you are. That's the week that was. I'm a little late coming to this. I've had a really busy morning. This is Sunday morning now, Valentine's Day. I had a great time talking to Dan Adam from Paint All the Miniatures on the podcast, and then I've just spent a lot of time with the family, which is much more important for me than anything else. Rosie's just gone for a nap, so now I can come and start to finalise this video, edit it and get it published. So it will be a little bit late today, but that's how it is. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. Pop a comment below, I'd love to hear from you as always. I haven't done any more on the hobby bingo, even though I'm stood here. I've primed the dragon, but I haven't started painting. There is a chance that I'll start painting that today, we shall see. Lots of projects going on, not everything is in the vlog. Very, very busy time at the moment. February is proving to be quite a hefty month for targets and deadlines for things. But I'm having a lot of fun and I'm still enjoying it a great deal. I don't feel as stressed as I did last year when I had a little bit of a moment. So I'll wrap that up now, and I will say, as always, please stay safe, stay well, and stay healthy.